Okay, so I know that the time on this video shows it's almost 40 minutes long or a little more. I apologize for that. In this next little clip, I go on for over half an hour about the PTQ, my games, broke down, my equipment, my strategies, my thought process, and everything like that. I really get into it. So I would say if you're not really interested in hearing every little detail about every game, uh, the beginning is really good, like the first like 5-8 minutes, and then the end is really good, like the last 8 minutes there, and there's a good section in the middle. So if you want to kind of just skim through the games, fast forward through the games, and even if you missed a bit in the middle, although I think it's worth the listen, because there was something in between the two rounds, uh, but that'll cut it down. Like you'll probably only have to watch like 15 minutes or so for the really good stuff. If you're not too interested in the blow by blow. All right, guys. Sorry, I'm getting to it. Okay, everybody. So in this video, I want to go over my actual bowling in the PTQ, the equipment I took out with me, the adjustments I made, things like that. I actually already filmed this video once, and I thought I was doing a great job. And when I finished and looked back at it, it was over an hour long. Yeah, that might be a bit too much. Okay, so I've got notes here, and I'm going to try to kind of condense everything down. Okay, so first off, we'll start with the equipment quick. When I came out here, I brought a total of 14 bowling balls, 12 drilled in, already drilled in bags, 2 undrilled balls in a box. No need to drill those, as I'm not actually in the World Series of Bowling now. Because I didn't make the top 10 in the qualifier. So the balls I brought out with me. Okay, I got some notes here. So I had 2 Alpha Jackals, 1 pin up, 1 pin down, both at a 2000 finish. 2 Jackal Ghosts, again 1 pin up, 1 pin down, except the pin down is a 16 pound. Uh, that was at 1,000 grit finish, and the pin up was at 2,000 grit finish. I had 2 Trident Nemesis, 1 pin up, pin down, both box finish, which is shiny. And I had Forge Fire, pin down at 3,000. Tank Blitz, which is another 16 pounder, pin down at 2,000. A Supra, another 16 pounder, pin up, box finish, which is shiny. A Venom Shock, which is pin up, and I had um, about a 3,000 grit finish, and a Tank Rampage, which is also a 16 pounder, and that was standing pretty rough. It was around like a 500 grit or so, and I think the pin on that is real close to my PAP. So that's the 12 bowling balls I took out with me. The first round of the PTQ was 10 games total. The first round was 5, the second round was 5. Both times it was fresh oil. The pattern was the Earl Anthony 43 foot. I've never bowled on that pattern. And in terms of the bowling center here at South Point, this is my second time ever seeing these lanes. So for practice prior to the PTQ, I didn't get the 2 hour practice like I was thinking. I was mistaken originally. That was for the touring pros, the guys who are actually already in the World Series of Bowling. And after they concluded, they started our practice and at noon, and we started just on the lanes they came off of. So we were practicing on a burn of the Earl Anthony 43 foot, and they started oiling some lanes while we were starting to practice. After about 20 minutes, they had 6 lanes freshly oiled, and you had there was, I believe, a total of 38 bowlers in PTQ, and you had almost 30 of them all run down and cram into 6 lanes. So I just stayed over on the burn lanes and just kept kind of seeing what zones were playable. I was trying different bowling balls, and I was trying different zones in the lane. Like I was throwing up 5. I'd move in to like say laying down on 20, swing to 10. I'd lay down on like 30 and swing to like 15, 18, something like that. I just checked different areas out on the lane to see what was going on. Um, I found some decent stuff in the middle. Uh, not too far for ball rate for your break point, not too close to the head pin. But somewhere around second arrow on the burn was pretty playable. Just left a second arrow between second and third. Um, but if I got too far in, too far left, I actually found too much friction. The ball would hook too soon and go high or cross over. If I went too far right and tried to play down and in, it was fickle. Either the ball would hook too early if my trajectory was too straight or towards the head pin, or it would just catch something out there and just slide too long, go too long. Um, so it was interesting practice. We only got about 30 minutes, and then we had a roll call at 12:30. And in the roll call was when we found out we were missing some bowlers. So there were supposed to be 44 bowlers. Were still on the roster for that. And when we did it, there were several missing. Turned out to be only 38 at the end. And because of that, they had to shuffle some guys around on the lanes, and that caused a little bit of a delay to our start time, which was 1. And so we actually went back out onto the practice pairs for a little bit longer, but only like 10 minutes or so. And so then we came over to the other side of the facility, the lanes that they had oiled fresh for us to compete on. And we got 10 minutes of practice. And so I started out, I was throwing my 16-pound Jackal Ghost, which is pinned down, is at about 1,000 grit or so finish. And let's see, was it 1,000? What? Either way, I threw it for a few shots, probably like 4 or 5 shots in practice to try to see what was out there and maybe try to help create a little bit of a line. I mean, there's only so much you can do in a short amount of time. But I was expecting to play a little more up the boards, a little more right, maybe lay down around 10, swing to like 8, 5, somewhere in that vicinity. But I wasn't seeing it. I was getting too much wiggle. The ball, I call it wiggle. It's like when it's going, it's not just like straight and then hook, right? It's kind of like almost kind of just teeters a little bit. I call it like wiggles a little bit. And, basically what happens is you tend to get a little bit of inconsistency. You have to be like so on point with hitting your target. If you're off a half a board, you end up being 2 boards down lane different. So there wasn't a lot of play. There wasn't a lot of forgiveness trying to play that line. It was too tight for my comfort. So I tried to feel in a little bit. I moved left. I ended up moving, I believe, like 10 boards left of my feet, and I moved my break point like I think like 5 or 6 boards left. And I actually found something. Now it was still a little tight, but it wasn't wiggling on me. As long as I didn't miss by more than a board, I had a shot. And so that's what I chose. I switched to my pin down Alpha Jackal, and that's what I chose to start with. And the first game went okay. I had a couple errant shots that cost me. I call that missed opportunities. It's where when you are lined up, you have a good reaction. You can get to the pocket. And at that point, it's just a matter of you executing, right? And if you execute poorly, and I don't mean like really bad. I'm not saying like yank across and it goes Brooklyn and stuff like that. I'm just saying like the little things, like you just push a little too much with the palm, or you just kind of grab just a hair too much, a little too slow at the release, things like that, right? So the small things. Those are the ones that cause just enough of a change in your trajectory or your ball's reaction at the end of the lane that you still get close to the pocket, but you're not getting flush or high flush in the pocket, and you end up leaving something that you have to shoot at to convert. And that's what I'm talking about when I use the terminology missed opportunities, okay? Now, of course, there's always the really bad errant shots where you tug, you pull, you'll whiff, whatever, things like that, right? Um, and those are the ones that usually end up leaving you splits, something nasty, gutters. I mean, anything can really happen. But so I actually found something that was more left of everybody else. And we started out, we were on the higher end of the lanes. Now we only bowled on one half of this facility, uh, but it was the high end, and we were at the high end of the high end. So we started out, let's see, on lanes 53 and 54, and so I ended up shooting a 208 my first game. I don't remember. I remember how many mismakeables I had for the games, how many each round. I remember what the mismakeables were. I know I had some splits. I don't remember exactly how many splits, except for the makeable splits. Uh, but even though I remember the amount of makeables and what they were, I don't remember exactly where and what games they were. But my point is, what I'm trying to get to is real quick. It's like so the 208. The 208 was a pretty decent game to start out with. Somewhere in there, I had something that it could have been a 220 game. You know what I mean? Like either I missed one of my makeables, or maybe I got a split or something like that. Okay. Um, or maybe it was one of those missed opportunities. Maybe I had like a three bagger and then I ended up, throwing an eight count because of that little falter I had in my execution. So, so then we moved. We went to the low end, same side of the facility, but to the low end of that side, and we were on 33-34 game two, and this was one of the um, there were only three times where, in terms of navigating the lane patterns and the lanes and trying to figure out where to play, where to lay down, where to target, the rotation, till what ball to use. There were only three times out of 10 games where I struggled or I was not in the right place. So this was the first instance. So and it wasn't even severe, but it caused a lower score. So game two, we moved down, and I was trying to play the same spot on the lane, in the beginning, and it was a little fickle, but I stuck with it for about 4 frames, first 4 frames. And I quickly realized that, based on what I was seeing with my own ball, but also the other bowlers around me, that I needed to move right. Okay, so I had to move. I ended up moving, I think, like about 10 boards right in my feet. I had to move my target right about 4 boards, and basically I had to square up and go a little bit straighter up the boards, get the ball uh, to roll a little bit more at the end of the pattern instead of try to make a turn, because I was getting where the ball would skid out on me a little bit otherwise. And so once I made the move, I ended up, I believe that was one of the games where I had to close out the 10th frame to save face for a decent score, and I had to shoot I shot a 179. Okay, so at this point, I went from being +8 the first game. Now I'm down -13 game two. All right, so game three, I go on. Uh, I made a better change, a better move. I think I stayed right. I only ended up moving left a few boards throughout the game. I switched balls. I went from throwing the pin down alpha to the pin up alpha. Actually, I made that change at the end of the second game. I stuck with that for the third game. I ended up shooting a 205. So it was a much better game. Still, again, missed opportunities kept me from a better score yet. Okay, so at this point, I was -8. Game four, let's see, I started struggling again, and with the alpha, and I think what I was seeing is after a little bit of time, the alpha just wasn't fast enough off the spot, so I needed to go to something a little bit more reactive. So I kept making a couple moves with my feet and my eyes, but nothing big at this point. But I switched to my Jackal Ghost, my pin up one, and that helped me to finish out the game with a 180. And so at this point, I was now down 28 pins. Okay, so I'm not headed the right direction for sure. I wasn't paying attention to the scores and see what the cut was, but at this point, I was like, okay, all right, there's still plenty of time. And all along throughout this, I was never getting mad and upset at my few shots where I was throwing errant shots. So, you know, uh, whether it's my first shot or my spare shot, if I didn't get my pin count or if I missed a makeable, um, when I stepped back up there the next frame, I wasn't thinking about that anymore, and I just focused on what I needed to do. Okay, um, and one of the things that I did. Okay, let me finish this round real quick, and I'll get into this next little bit. Okay, so then we went on to game five. Okay, in game five, still throwing the still throwing the same all the Jackal Ghost pin up, and made another move, another adjustment, and I ended up shooting a 209. Okay, I believe this was one of the games where I actually started out decent, did mediocre in the middle, meaning spares, and then somewhere around the end, I ended up having an open, and it really brought my game down. I was like, oh man, missed another opportunity here to get a good score, to get back to even, but I still made up a little ground. So 209 brought me up to a minus 19. So after the first round, I was down 19 pins from even. And at this point, the running cut for 10th place was plus 80. Okay, so I knew I had some ground to make up the next set, but it was doable, and I was very upbeat and positive about it. And what I did was I took the time I had between rounds to go adjust my cover stocks. A couple of the balls I just freshened them back to what they were, and a couple I actually made them a little rougher. So I think on the 16-pound Jackal Ghost that's pinned down, I made it I think like an 800 instead of 1,000. On the Alpha Jackal that's pinned down, I think I made it like 1,000 instead of 2,000, because I wanted to make sure I really got off to a great start the first game. Because the first round I did okay, shot 208, and I was just a little bit like I said, that inside line was a little bit fickle. And once I went to the second game, I realized that there was a better line down and in. So that was why I wanted more surface. Excuse me, more surface on those two bowling balls, because I wanted to start right the first game this time around, as opposed to starting in and then moving right. I wanted to start right and be able to move in. And I thought for sure I was going to just go out there and kill it. Okay, so before I start on the second round, real quick, one of the big things I've done different this time than any other time I've ever bowled in a PBA event. Okay, uh, first off, the video logging. Okay, I've never sat here and tried to document anything before, and of course years ago we didn't really have this stuff. Wasn't a thing. Um, but one of the main reasons I decided to try to document and be out and open with everybody about what I'm doing here and my goals, my dreams, and ambitions is to help myself, to help me force myself to get the right mindset, the right frame of mind of thinking. And historically in the past, I've been very pessimistic, and I used to consider myself a realist, and I've reevaluated, and it's pessimism. So I literally would go out to these PBA regionals, these events, um, and I'd go out there with the mindset of, well, I'm gonna go do the best I can, and hopefully I can make a check, hopefully I can make a cut. That would be great, and that'd be like so amazing if I could just do the bare minimum, right? All the while, I'm already admitting defeat to myself, that it's not even possible I could win this tournament, right? That I'm not good enough to compete with those guys out there. So it was a very negative way of thinking, and this is one of the big things I worked hard to change coming out here. And I have practiced a little bit the last 5-6 months here and there, but not enough. And I'll get into that after I finish going through the second round of scores. Okay, but just real quick, from the very beginning, okay, my very first shot, first frame, first game of the first round. This is honestly the first time I ever bowled in a PBA event, and my very first frame, my very first game, I was not shaking from being nervous. Okay. Usually I just get so, I don't know if it's just amped up, excited or what, but historically I get anxious, I get nervous or something, excited, but I physically shake like as if I was going at the 12th shot for a 300, or I was, had to close out the 10th frame of the third game for an 800 series. Like I physically would get so nervous, and that's how I'd start out my game. And this is the first time ever I was out there with the mindset so positive and so good that I was calm and collected. I was able to just focus on throwing the ball, and it was great. And every time it kind of creep up some like butterfly feelings in the belly. I would start doing some breathing techniques. I kind of like take a quick breath, hold it in for a moment, and slowly release it. And just kind of just slowly breathe. Things like that, and kept it in check. It helped a lot throughout the process. But okay, so now round two, because I don't want to get too long on time here. It's already been a while. But the first game did not go nearly as well as I had hoped. Okay, so this was my second big mistake navigating the lanes. So through the whole first round, except for being a little off that second game and having to move right, the whole rest of the time I had a good line, I had good ball reaction, I was getting into the pocket, and I was in a good ball. And I made good ball changes, right? Which I didn't make a lot. I made a couple. But this time, this was my worst in terms of being lined up. And what's bad was I wasn't even far. Like I started, my intention was being right and playing more right and up the boards, and I had more surface on the ball. I thought I had the right strategy, but I struggled, and I had some opens. And actually, I think I only had two opens the first game. What killed me was I wasn't striking the first game. So, but I ended up shooting 168, and that was my lowest game of the whole event for the 10 games. But this brought me down to minus 51. So I just started out the second round where the cut was run at plus 80, and I just went down to minus 51. And I was like, okay, all right. For like a half a second, that pessimism started to creep in, and I said, okay, no, it's fine. I got this. Okay. So then I turned around and shot 231 the next game. I made a move, okay? And let's see. I made a ball change from the pin down alpha to the pin up alpha, and I actually moved more right. I squared up more, and I was able to stay more up the back of the ball instead of coming around it, and it read the lane right, and it gave me the reaction, the consistent reaction I needed, and I ended up having 231. And again, that right in that game, somewhere in there, I would have had some type of missed opportunity, because it was every single game I had some kind of a shot, whether it ended up being I just left a 7 pin or a 4 pin or a 10 pin, or maybe I threw a split or something like that, But we all have that, right? So I'm not trying to say this is any type of excuse. No excuses here. This is all on me and my performance. I'm just trying to give you the clear picture that it wasn't a matter of not being on the right line or in the right ball. It was a matter of my execution. Okay, so 231, great game, brought me up to 20 under. Okay, so that was good progress. So now I'm like, all right, yeah, okay. So let me get another great game here, and I'll be back on track, right? So then the next game, let's see here. Oh yeah, so this is what happened. So I moved to the next pair, and I tried playing the same part of the lane, the same line, or very close to, with the same ball. And the first couple frames were fine. It was good. And then all of a sudden I started to see just a little bit, the ball wasn't wiggling, but what you start to see is the ball hooks just a hair too soon. Or maybe, it goes a little too long. So it wasn't extreme over under, but you can see the transition. You can see the inconsistency with the ball motion and when it was hooking on the lane. But also I was watching the bowlers around me, and I could see they all made a big move in, okay? And they were starting to open up their angles a little bit and swing the ball a little bit more. Kind of like, where I tried to start the first game, the first round, and where I ended up at the end of the first round. But they did it sooner this time, and I think it had a lot to do with what lanes we were on, from the high end to the low end. Because I noticed that the high end lanes played like there was more friction. They were a little more open for the inside shots, and then the low end were actually a little tighter until the later games. But at this point, we're game three, and we're back down to the high end again, right? So we're 51, 52, and so everybody's jumping in. And I was trying to ride a line that I just had a nice 231 game. It was so good, right? Well, I had a couple frames where it was like, oh, okay, I didn't strike, and well, then what happened was this was my third and final big mistake in terms of strategy and actual like choice of how to battle the pattern in the lanes. Okay, so I made three major mistakes throughout the 10 games. This is my third and final one, and it was not making a move and ball change at the right time. Okay, I saw it coming. I could see it not just on my own. I saw it with the guys around me. Once the first shot, okay, the second shot again, okay. At that point, you've got to be willing to move. You can't just keep telling yourself, well, I just got to throw it better. No, I threw it good, okay, and the ball didn't, read the lane right. So you do that twice in a row, you got to move, okay. You can't just sit there. Well, I sat there. So that was the mistake, and it bit me. The transition got me. It caught me, and it bit me hard. Okay, and I opened. I had some splits. So, but then what I did was bounce back, and I think it was now the ninth frame of this game, and I made a big move left. I moved like 8 to 10 boards left on my feet, and I switched to my Jackal Ghost, which is pin up because it's a little more reactive than the Alpha. Same core, same drilling layout, but the cover is different. And the cover is the Alpha cover is a little stronger, which means more friction, which means a little smoother shape, just a little bit. Okay, so but the Ghost a little more reactive off the spot. So I moved in my feet, moved my target in 2-3 boards, and then of course it was great. I ended up closing out that game, saved face for a 188. Okay. So at this point, I'm minus 32. Okay, I know if I want any chance at all of making the cut, truthfully, I need to go big for the next two games. I'm talking like 279 to 300 the next two games to have a shot at the cut. And I have at this point, I haven't actually looked at the scores. I just know that that's what it's going to be based off the plus 80 from the first round. Because if you take the same bowlers on the same lanes with the same conditions, okay, you can expect that number to maybe not exactly double, but it's going to move up. All right, and it did. All right, so anyways, so game four, let's see, moved with the lanes and made good choices. Ended up shooting a 222, missed a couple opportunities again, but still a good game. Now I'm minus 10. At this point, I know I'm out. Okay, it's real easy to get kind of down. Feel defeated and just be like, it doesn't even matter what the heck, and just throw blah shots from that point on. But that wasn't my attitude. I kept my positivity in check. I focused on what I needed to do just to do the best I could do. Even though I knew if I shot 300, it was only going to put me at a plus 90, and if it was plus 80 before, it's not going to be a plus 90. It's going to be more than that. So anyways, I ended up shooting a 238 the last game. All right. And this one I remember actually frame for frame. I made the best change, best ball change, move, everything this game. It just worked out great. And I made a big move left. I moved. I think I was throwing the ball, or I was laying it down on let's see here. I think I was laying it down on 30, and my break point I think was 13 or so, and I switched to the Venom Shock, which I hadn't thrown at all yet the first round, or even in the warm-up practice. I only threw it in the original practice before on the burn, and it was beautiful. I had great reaction. I even had a couple boards of forgiveness with the thing. I went the front 5, and then I left a 10 pin. It was still a pretty good shot. Spared it. the next two, okay, perfect high flush shots. It was beautiful. And then I throw a gutter spare in the ninth frame. Here I am, 5 strikes, 9 spare, double, gutter spare. Okay, so then I threw 9 spare strike in the 10th. So all that to say, I shot 238, and I finished positive plus 28. The cut ended up being a plus 134 for 10th place. Okay, so I was let's see, was 106 shy of that number, so 107 shy of actually being the cut. Now, real quick, let's talk about missed makeables. So I had in the first round 4 missed makeables. In the second round, I had 2. The first round, the 4 missed makeables, I had 2 that were the 310 baby split. I missed them. Well, actually, I did not convert them. So, and then I also had, let's see, I have it written down here. Sorry if I'm looking away. I'm just looking at my notes. I missed a 10 pin. A doggone 10 pin. I missed it. Sure did. All right. And then a makeable split. Okay. Which is also the 310 is it's a baby, so that's a makeable split. But a 1, 2, 4, 6, 10. And I hit it pretty decent. Hit the 1, 2. Took out the 4. The 1 went over, and it got the 10. Missed the 6. It went right in front of it. Man, I missed it. I actually picked that spare up another time, though. I had to shoot that twice on the day. So missed those. On the second round, I missed 2. I missed a 6-10. Okay. That's worse than missing just the 10, isn't it? Oh, man. And then, of course, I had let's see here, a 3, 6, 9, 10, which is a spare. I shot it twice in the day. I made it once and I missed it once. Okay, so I missed a total of 6 spares. Now, as a general rule, and this is very generalized, but you can say that a open in terms of a missed makeable spare, costs you a minimum of 11 pins. Okay, it could be more, but just for generalization purposes, so that's 66 pins. If I had that 66 pins back, and basically that's all on me. Okay, that's just my execution. I didn't make them, but when you're trying to compete professionally at this level, you need to make 95% or more, of your makeable spares, and you need to get count on your non-makeables. All right, if you're not making 95% better spare conversion, then you've got to be putting a lot of strikes out there to make up for it. Okay, so I didn't, but let's just say hypothetically that I did. If I did, okay, that would have gave me 66 more pins, and I would have been plus 94. All right, at that point, I'm only 41 pins away from the cut, from the plus 134 cut, right? All right, now, for all of the errant shots, all the missed opportunities that I had where I could have scored better and I didn't, I'm not going to even try to reclaim some, majority, or all, nothing like that. Let's just talk about one shot in particular, okay? That gutter spare. So I had a great look. I was throwing the ball great. I was burying it in the pocket. And then all of a sudden, here I go, gutter. And I spared it. So that goes to show you, I spared it, that I went and made a terrible shot, and I got right back up there, and I made a great shot, okay? So I'm not going to try to say maybe I would have struck the 10th frame if I hadn't done that, because I did spare the gutter. So I bounced back. So let's just talk about the gutter. And I did the math on this, guys, all right? So I wrote it out, and I did the math on it. And if I had struck instead of gutter spared, I would have had 20 more pins, okay? So that means my missed makeables, and if I had that means I'd have been 21 pins away from the cut. I still would not have made it, okay? I would not have made it. So, and that's on me. However, as I was watching some of the qualifying that started today, the World Series of Bowling, I noticed a few names that I knew bowled the PTQ that I knew weren't in the cut. So I looked it up. And so, just so if you don't already know, when somebody that is entered into the tournament withdraws, they try to fill that withdrawal. Okay, as long as it's before the start of the tournament, right? They try to fill that, and they do it as like the next in line from the qualifier. So in this case with the PTQ, and we had 38 bowlers, 10 people, the top 10, 10th was the cut. So if somebody withdrew from the tournament, that means 11 gets offered that spot, right? Well, it turns out that apparently 3 people withdrew or something happened, okay, because 11th, 12th, and 13th bowlers who did not make the cut are actually in the World Series of Bowling. They're bowling right now, okay? So I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Good for them. I'm happy for them. So then I looked at the numbers, and the cut, well, not the cut, but the 13th bowler from the PTQ, he scored plus 119. So, lesson learned. Yesterday, if I had, well, let's see, today's Sunday, so 2 days ago, if I had made my makeable spares and not guttered that one shot, I'd be bowling right now. But it's okay, guys, okay? I'm not upset about it. I'm just explaining this for your benefit so you can understand how important it is to make your spares. All right? Anyways, I know now more than ever, I believe now more than ever, that I do have what it takes to be competitive out here in this environment, on this tour, even in the modern game, okay? Yes, I need to still practice more. I need to get better. I need to sharpen and hone, and I'm going to, guys, okay? So I'm super pumped. I'm super excited. I know I got a long drive home, but the plan is going to be once I get home, I'm going to actually take a little time to kind of write down, like actually physically write down and strategize some plans on, like, hey, I need to actually get for real about like my fitness. I need to implement a respectable, doable routine for getting in a little bit better shape, okay? Because I'm going to need to be able to pull lots of games back to back to back to back. So I'm going to need some energy and stamina. But also I need to get my spare game to the next level. I need to be at the level of the best bowlers in the world if I want to be one of the best. So, and that's just the bottom line, guys. I mean, I can't miss makeables and expect to be competitive, you know. So that and my errant shots. So that's the goal. So, and I'm actually thinking a lot of that has to do with how little I've been bowling for years. I actually don't bowl too often anymore, and pretty much it's mostly just for fun, and I tend to have drinks, some beers and stuff. So I'm gonna start getting on the lanes more. And that doesn't necessarily mean more leagues, but I'm gonna get on the lanes more. I'm gonna bowl, and I'm gonna sharpen my skills so that when I can get out there, I can be competitive next time. So everybody who's been following me, thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the love and the support and all the kind words that so many of you have sent to me. I'm really sorry I didn't actually make the cut. I know y'all were cheering for me, and I really wanted to also, but I'm pulling a lot of positives out of this this whole trip, this whole experience. Honestly, this is some of the best bowling I've done in a very long time, if not ever. I mean, I know I've had more success than this, but when you try to put it all into perspective and everything that went on and everything I've done and what I'm trying to do and what I am doing, a lot of good things happened out here and nothing but good things ahead. And one day, guys, I'm going to make it, and won't that be great when I can call you guys up or get on here and be like, hey, turn on the TV because I'm going to be on it. Quick correction. Okay, so I just a moment ago stated that I would be bowling right now if I had only made my makeables and uh, struck that one frame that I threw the gutter spare. And that's not entirely accurate, okay? When I was adding up the math, I got a little ahead of myself. That would have brought me to a plus 114. That would still be 5 pins less than that 13th bowler who had a 119, okay? So that's not accurate, but at the same time, that 11 pin rule is a minimum number, and you don't really know exactly how many pins you lost and gave up unless you did the actual math. If you had all the frames, like maybe you had your scores printed out and you could see the frames and you corrected the opens, the missed makeables, you corrected them to spares and then added up. That's the only way you're going to be sure how many pins you gave up, is if you actually recorded it all. So my figure is a guesstimation. So I apologize for saying that I would be bowling right now, but let's just say there's a chance, there's a possibility that I could be bowling right now. Okay. That's actually pretty exciting to think about, guys. All right. It's very exciting. I wasn't trying to say that in a salty way. I'm trying to emphasize the importance of spare shooting. I'm trying to emphasize the importance of getting count when you have non-makeables, okay? Because those things make the difference. When you're talking about the pros who are trying to scrap week to week to earn a check to make a living, you know, it's a deal breaker, okay? And that's all I'm getting at here, okay? When I looked at my numbers, when I look at what I have, if I could just change those things and nothing else, no other hypotheticals, just that I just, in theory, changed where I converted the spares that I should convert, and then I did not throw that one gutter spare. I threw a strike in its place. Okay. With that said, I very well could possibly be bowling right now in the World Series of Bowling. Not right this moment because I should be in bed, but you know what I mean. So, anyways, I just wanted to update that real quick. Sorry, I know it was a long video and I just made it longer. All right, guys, bye.